It's the 2nd of August, and the upload I'm going to share today is for the interest of Universal Lightworkers. Now, as a Catholic, I'm going to mention the issue of faith and those that have intruded on a false premise with a false stance, a superficial stance that is disrespectful to my Catholic birth and my Catholic marriage. Now, the issue of being a Universal Lightworker and having had the experience of mercurial companies assisting those that have been damaging my light fragments since 2016, just a year after I gave birth, and that have been developing since 2016 from my light fragments and from bodily integrity damages that they've caused and that have not been treated, that were not consented to, that were not lawful, that are against the Declaration of Human Rights. The issue I'm raising in this matter is the stance of individuals sitting on their hands regarding the original sinister offence of the unlawful care order of my son in 2017. Now, there's a process of exacerbation going on, and there is no regard being laid in the area of legislation that I have influenced in healthcare, in criminal justice, and childcare reform. Now, as I'm of legislation and as I'm of royal patronage, there are certain obligations that the government are to fulfill. Now, the government hasn't been connecting and communicating with me personally. And that is, as far as I am concerned, as an educator, a failing. And the very fact that there are culprits that have been responsible for developments that have utilised from my purpose, that have utilised from my body, dominating a forum where they have no lawful position, is a very serious disrespect to human rights. And it's also a disrespect to the Constitution. So on a daily basis, I'm experiencing spiritual violence, and this has been happening since 2016. Now, the very issue is at a local level, a child being unlawfully separated from his mother. Now, that is the issue, and this is for the attention of all intelligent-minded people. And it also raises the issue of the other matters in the Declaration that are also precedent to people's egotistical avarice acquisitions from a mother who has earned and that is entitled. Now, there's also the issue of other entitlements from the area of entertainment and culture that we are all very fully aware of. Now, those entitlements are only to be discussed with me personally. And there are people in this community on a stage of competition and identity theft and imposing in a circumstance where they have no lawful right to be. Now, the extent of this culture and entertainment industry and my entitlements to it is quite vast. Now, my properties of my mountain and my hill in Tubberid and Kilflynn are also another issue that I'm waiting for the relevant agencies to address. So those people that are of exacerbation haven't addressed the damages that they've done to my body. They haven't addressed the unlawful care orders of my son for the past 3.5 years. There's an ombudsman procedure since 2017. The ombudsman have not contacted me. Now, in my marriage, I've experienced adultery, desertion, and poverty, and treason. These are all very dangerous offences for an honest mother, married, with a very, very clean track record, to be experiencing in a democracy. This is a modern day and age. This is 2021, and I'm wondering why the relevant politicians, practitioners, and professionals are sitting on their hands to accommodate young practitioners of spirituality that aren't exactly respectful of good faith. So I've been in isolation due to these liabilities, damaging sacred, damaging royal lineage, disrespecting my child. And I'm wondering the explanation from the Taoiseach and from the Taoiseach. And I'm wondering why the Ombudsman have not addressed the unlawful care orders. So there's a very serious issue with a vast amount of theft from my wealth and fortune, and the child that I gave birth to, and the doctors that disrespected their obligations to the Hippocratic Oath. And as for the other companies, as of 2019, that have been developing from me and my purpose, and sidelining and isolating and disrespecting and impoverishing, I'd like to know what the human rights agencies think about this, because bad politics is at play. And the politics that is at play is not by the politicians in the Dáil, unfortunately. So there's a jeopardy for the reputation of the politicians in Dáil Éireann and the individuals that think they're dominating with disrespecting my wealth, property, lineage and family. Now these culprits are not sitting in Dáil Éireann. They are not elected representatives, and they did not lay the foundations for the New Ireland. In 2018, renovations to this country commenced due to my work. And I'm wondering today, since 2017, where my child is. The authorities have not fulfilled their obligations to me. The doctors have not fulfilled their obligations to me, and there have been United Nations representatives in Ireland and abroad that have been obstructed from assisting me. So I'd like to know what the standard of these professionals is or are. And I'm wondering, are people after upgrading and progressing, or are they regressing into the mentality of begrudgery? So those that are trying to use the slant of faith against a Catholic mother, a universal light worker, I'd like to bring the reality back to the point of origin in January 2017, when a child was unlawfully separated from his mother. And how many of these individuals, culprits, are being accommodated at an awful cost. Because I'm going to reiterate, the damage to my sacred light body that has been exploited, monopolised and utilised without my consent is quite expensive. And as a universal light worker and a humanitarian, my track record is very clean. And as regards entertainment and culture and heritage of Ireland, I'd also like to remind the individuals trying to monopolise a fortune that they have no entitlement to, that is also a point of discussion. So would it be conscientious of responsible adults of Ireland and Europe to acknowledge the very dangerous matter in Tralee? There are individuals of identity theft, financial theft, property theft and treason. There has been adultery, there has been desertion and poverty, and there has been trauma on an innocent child, and there has been disinformation and absolute nonsense. So it's 2021, and if it wouldn't be too much to expect, I would appreciate a bit of courtesy from the elected representatives in Dáil Éireann and not the individuals that are disrespecting the Constitution.